Corner. We gonna go from there. We gonna take that first part out. welcome everybody, Coach's Corner. I'm Coach Linden, and this is
Coach Debbie here.
And we're just here to kind of share what's going on in our community and all the things in between. So, listen, when I sat down, I had one topic on my mind, and now I'm starting, like, my brain shifting to another topic due to how we started today. So I wanted to think about, my original topic was being there for the people you care about, right? Because yesterday I was out running with them, and we had some ebb and flow moments, right? Like, we ran 10 miles yesterday. Emma's been running with me. She's been my running partner probably for the last 16 weeks. I want to say, no, it hadn't been 16. Closer to like 11 or 12. So 2-3 months we've been running together. We ran with the community. We ran the Lilac 5K together. And, you know, she's a good partner. She knows how to keep up. She knows how to push me when I need it. It's honestly, she's been a great running buddy. And I would run with the fellas, but all y'all fucking faster than me. So, like, that, I believe she feels about me how I feel about, like, let's say running with you, right? Like, I want to go with speed we're going. I don't want to go have you slow down or have to make space for me. I want to be able to keep up. So that's why I was training by myself for so long, to get to that space, to feel better about running in total. But it's a fucking task.
10 miles is,
yeah.
that's a good amount.
10 miles was yesterday. And the reason that thought process came up to me is because at the beginning, for those who do not know, I deal with hemophilia. So what happens is your blood doesn't clot. So where most people get to repair because their blood will pool and all the other stuff and coagulate, mine doesn't. So a lot of times it just turns into swelling instead of healing, which makes it hard to do things. And also makes me very prone to injury. So yesterday I was having that moment, and, you know, Em gave me some encouraging words, popped me right out of that space. We got about halfway in, and she started to be woozy and our vision was getting blurry, so it was my turn to return the favor. It's Coach Bennett. The Nike Run Club app
I
has
love Coach Bennett.
I love Coach Bennett
Bennett's
too.
Fire. Nike Run Club app.
Shout outs to Coach Bennett if he ever sees this. What's the name? So I was like, I remember when I was first running with she would always complain about Coach Bennett. She'd be like, forget this guy.
Because he's corny? But
he's great.
he grows on you.
He's
like,
great.
quick.
Like, really.
Yeah.
Like, and again, he's saying some real stuff. There's some real moments. So, like, I enjoy Coach Bennett. So there was this part about being in community, basically, right? Like, being honest with yourself, arguing, right? Like, all this stuff.
Arguing in community.
Up, right? Like having actual differences and having to resolve them. And you know, it's like, can you sit with it? What is it? How is it going? Asking yourself those 7 questions. Yeah. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. 6? Yes. I feel like I'm missing one. But, you know,
I think it's 6.
It might be 6.
Yeah.
So hearing that made me, like, go deeper into thought and relationships and, you know, like, what mine are. So last night, my wife's getting ready to leave town. I decided to be a good husband, but damn if I ain't paying for it today, if I'm not paying for going on that run today. And, like, sometimes it's like that, right? I thought about all the women in my life who really give a shit about me, and how they sacrifice themselves all the time to give to me. And it made me purposeful, but it also brought a little fear into my heart. Having someone else see you in that light means that you have an expectation to live up to, right? And I don't know about everybody else, but one of my things, I'm very big on not letting people down. So it was hard to know that was the weight that I was carrying in that moment, and I would carry going forward. So I wanted to talk about that, and now
I like that.
Today has helped me figure out / realize that I should talk about this more. Thank you. Amy just got the message that everything's canceled, so she was asking if I was okay. So it's that whole feel, right? Like that's proof. Like one of those moments where it's like I'm appreciative, but at the same time, God damn it, if I don't get tired. LJ has been kicking my ass, son. If these stay up long enough for you to get old enough, yo, take it easy, right? Like, we are just people. Goodness gracious. You know, he ain't been bad, but also, you know, he wakes up at times. You got to get up. You got to get out of bed. It's been tough. So I think I'm looking at community with the 6 questions as my forefront and what it is. We had the hard talk we had a talk with Jesse on Monday, also into a huge change. That'd be a huge shift. Not for this space per se, but in general for
the ethos.
Definitely for me, definitely for you, but like this space would remain integrally the same. It's just one of those, again, extending ourselves more, out being over there, right? Like, you know, I damn near live in here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and so do you.
Yeah.
So to expand that means to be in 2 places at once, which means to expand it again. So all that stuff.
Increasing capacity.
Oh yeah, just literally increasing capacity.
And what's funny is the connections I'm making is this morning, you know, Sarah was like, I'll get up on time to make sure you get to the gym. You know, I'm late all the time, and I'll get up on time to make sure you get to the gym when you need to. And it brought me back to this sense of community and what community means to me. And I think it is the like responsibility or the expectation that you're trying to live up to that feels like failing yourself, because I'm inherently a giver, inherently like of servitude.
Yeah.
It feels like when someone else lets me know I let them down, I'm like,
Okay, fair.
you know, but when I let myself down inherently, that's something I'm working on. It's like I let myself down and I'm like, all right.
Fair.
But when I let someone else down, I'm like,
you know what? And I think that's most people. I think most people are, you're going to let yourself down. You're going to make a mistake, but like feel the feeling of knowing, and they don't even got to really say it for me.
Yeah, right.
It's the disappointment I know you have that feels terrible to me.
and that used to keep me silent, like
okay,
the potential disappointment. It'd be like, all right, I didn't get there on time. Let me just not show up and not call and not text and disappear.
Fair. Right. Then you realize, like, damn, I really should have shown up. I should have called. I should have texted. Like, you realize it's bigger than just that moment.
Yeah.
Hard to notice, but also really hard to admit to yourself, because you got to admit that you're the mistake. You're the one making the mistakes, right? It's not someone else, right? And it's and I want you to forgive me for that, instead of just being like, they won't forgive me and walking away. Right, and that plays into like the whole thing. I think people it's shame at that point. Shame around the thing has made it hard. I was talking to, I messed their name up so many goddamn times. Thank you, Timor.
Got it.
Timor, I really am growing to develop to love you, but it's so funny. Like, that's a whole thing. So Timor was sharing like, you know, how this space is different. And Margie was also sharing, like, I never know what we're going to do, but I'm always excited. And it just made me realize, I was talking through it with them, and I realized exactly why I do that, why it is that way, why I like it that way, right? Why I want people to be pushed like that instead of some old nonsense. Like, I'm seeing the lines, the patterns, and, like, really appreciating it all. And I am especially grateful for, like, this entire community, but especially grateful for a couple people in it. And I think for a long time, due to like previous relationships and things that I've done and how people treated it, that I was afraid to like lean into them. So I've always let my stoicism even stop me from being the poet, right? And now that we're in this new space, I feel like I'm supposed to be all facets of me. And man, I'm damned if this don't, hearing how other people view it from the outside sucks sometimes, right? Cause yeah, I just want to live as authentically as possible, man. And sometimes that looks crazy. That's what it makes that Monday's conversation.
What with Jazz?
With Jazz, yes. It makes me think of moments like that. Because, again, we talked about this already. Yeah. I had gotten, quote unquote, called out for some mess that ain't even mine to keep. And it was like, people are going to say whatever, whenever. They don't really, some people just, they're not trying to understand you. They're just trying to not be seen. You know, so that in and of itself, again, all those things made me very much so more grateful for people in my life. I'm pointing at Em.
Yeah.
She doesn't, you know, she's having a day. So, and I think we've all had a day. I think we've all had a problem. I think we've all been concerned. But like, the love is way higher than the low. The highs are way higher than the lows. You know.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at that, and I'm looking at the new burden I'm gonna have to carry to do the next season, and I'm like, but I know it'll be worth
I
it.
feel it. Yeah. I'm tired too. I feel like we've been pushing. I'm excited for what this next season comes. I'm excited for Debbie Pop and Lock this Saturday.
Yeah, should be fun, right?
It should be a good time.
I think like let's talk about that shit.
Yeah.
The advertising is trash. Like,
That's
it's
fair.
so
It's
trash.
fair.
But the only reason I want to bring that up is because the resources are there. Like,
Yeah.
It's not like it can't be done.
It's me
but
not-
there has to be intentionality to get it done, right? So like, it's the same thing for me. They're like, look, you doing it on the scale of the event. I'm doing it on the scale of the
Of
space.
a business, right?
Yeah. So like, I'm calling you out because I see it. I've been there. I'm like, yeah, this is hard. And then I kept doing it until I got better. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
Every time it feels gross, which goes right back down to that disappointment thing. But now it's like, again, it's on a much larger scale.
Yeah.
So,
And I'm glad, like, I think one of my biggest things with disappointment is I, like, let it stop me from making the next move or trying again. And now I've kind of, like, in my mind, I've kind of given myself, like, a playful aspect to disappointment where it's like, all right, yeah, it's going to happen. I get to control how I act afterwards. I get to control if I, like, wallow in, like, self-pity or I just, like, I kind of make light of the situation so that I can move forward and make a change. You know, before I would like be like, damn, I fucked it up. Now I guess I won't try it again. Now I'm like, yeah, I fucked that up, but how, you know, what are we gonna do next time?
yeah, failing forward. I've always had that described in my life as failing forward. So that way, again, it's okay to fall. Just don't keep falling and
Into
not
the
getting
same-
up.
yeah, into the same
patterns.
pitfall.
Improve, be a little bit better the next time. 1% better 99 times can be 100%. You know what I'm saying? I can keep failing until I am better. That is possible. So,
And one other thing, back to the Coach Bennett
Yeah,
talking about
please.
community
Coach Bennett.
and talking about conflict in community, I think is a big thing. I think a lot of the growth that happens comes from conflict in community and staying in that conflict until resolution. A lot of people like to jump out of community or be like, all right, I'm feeling bad about this conversation about what you just said. I'm gonna leave and stick with those emotions. You know, then there's no resolution, there's no growth, and I've been trying to put that into practice a lot more.
Right.
I think
Yeah, you have.
the more exposure I get to it, the better I will be at it when it's like serious, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, dope. Okay.
And I think if you saw my story yesterday, was one of the things I had a choreographer, dancer that I've been following for years, part of the LGBTQ community, and they were expressing how they think that in competition there shouldn't be any, or there should be a warning when it comes to the art that's on display or the choreography that's on display. There should be like more of a, if it's a triggering concept, it shouldn't necessarily be out there. And I responded to the story. I said, I don't agree.
Yeah.
You know?
That's not a.
And
That's a horrible stance.
yeah, I said I don't
In
agree.
my opinion,
I said I
that's
don't
a
agree
horrible
100%.
stance.
And then I got clarification. It was a great conversation. Like, they sent me voice memos and everything. Comes down to they needed more clarification on their post as to what they were referring to. Because once they broke it down, I was like, totally agree. In a kids competition, that there should be, you know, some discernment on what type of concepts they're having these kids dance, or you know.
Okay, like
And
the kids are doing.
Yeah, the kids are
Okay.
dancing.
All right, fair.
And
Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
And I
We
was
have the
like, in
kids
that
doing
case, I agree.
Grown music and movements.
Right. And that's
emulating
actually why I
things.
don't teach kids. Is like I was at a studio for a while and I realized in competition it got to this point where I felt weird. I felt like the kids were being over sexualized. They were, you know, being put in these positions where I'm like, you know, like this doesn't feel good to me. You know, like that's not how I want to teach kids. So I agreed with their stance, but at first I thought they were trying to talk
Their
about
statement didn't match their stance.
Yeah.
Right? Like if you're just saying don't do anything
That's
that's
censorship
offensive to
of art.
people, that is not only censorship of art, that's censorship in general, which is a large problem, and we fought for that literally in the Constitution.
Right.
It's not, that doesn't make any sense. What the whole space is grounded on has to do with people being able to freely do and express.
Right.
So you can't say do that and then expect people to not push back because it's the basis of how many people live.
Right.
But if you take it and you detail it and you say no, kids doing adult things, I'm not okay with.
Needs to be
right.
managed a little bit more.
There needs to be
Yeah.
something that puts the, you know, separates the kids from the adults. Like, okay, fair.
Yeah.
That's a very fair thing to say, and it makes a lot of sense. It's actually dope that they reached out to you because you said something.
Yeah,
That's
so I
amazing.
went through and I did an addendum to my story, you know, explaining a little bit more. I don't disagree.
I'll have to take a look.
Disagree with the point originally. After more clarification, I'm like, you know what, it kind of gets into capitalism a little bit for me, as far as like, they were talking about the audience member going into a situation to watch kids dance and then being, you know, the dance is about school shooting or the dance is about something like heavy topic, and they had no idea, you know, going into
so it
it. And I was
affected
like,
said person.
I was like, that's capitalism these days being more opaque. You don't know what you're purchasing fully a lot of the time. So
It's funny. I like to think of it as so concept. Again, I haven't watched this, so I'm not 100% sure, but I can definitely say it's the same thing that happens all the time, right? Like people take a snapshot and they judge an entire thing, right? And I don't think it's bad to take a snapshot and make a judgment call. I think it's bad to take a snapshot and then make that the call.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? Like, it's okay that you have reservations about a thing,
Right.
but when you're making it exactly how you function, you might have to admit you're wrong. You might have to backpedal, right? And nobody wants to backpedal, which is why people double down even when it's not right. And that's where it becomes a problem too. So yeah, that's, again, and agreed. If you couldn't have had the conversation, like that person even being willing to reach out to you about the conversation, it's so funny. The reason why I'm starting to fall in love with Timor is because I'm watching someone realize that while I am versed, I'm not well educated in things that have to do with queer spaces and the way that they are.
Yeah.
So they want me to, they're literally saying like, no, I'd really love to teach you
these things. Yeah.
how these things work for you, so you can be better, because literally what I do is necessary in those types of spaces. And you know, to me, I never set out for it to be like that, but I'm okay with it being like that. So it was one of those things for me, right? It's just like,
Well,
we
yeah,
will
I
get
think
into this a little bit, but I don't want to go into it too deep.
Yeah.
It's the same thing that comes to like the polyamory, the polygamy spaces, the other stuff. Like when people start labeling a thing, I think labels are necessary in order to identify, but I don't think they're necessary to live by said label, so much so that there can't be any fluidity. Right? So
I like that.
A lot of that creates those problems where people don't even think they can talk to one another, right? Just because I come from the city and was raised as a black male doesn't mean I can't understand a white male from the suburbs. It doesn't make any sense that we can't relate. So I don't understand why we tried that with, let's say, orientations or other things, right? I think it's just a slippery slope.
It's the disassociation.
But how do we talk about it if we don't talk about it, right? I give example on example. I do this all the time. I give examples all the time. So I think it does matter, and I would love for, we try to create that space for people, right? Sometimes I'm wrong, sometimes I'm right, but I think it's way more important that we're having the conversation, that whether I'm right or wrong. And that's where, like we were talking in last Coach's Corner, I talked about changing your language so it's not so visceral, right? And a lot of that has to do with that. It's not to change your message, it's to change your language around the message. Again, they're not receiving it, you need to say it in a way that's received,
exactly.
right? That. And that is how I function.
Bridging
and it
the gap
allows
of
to bridge
connection.
the gap. Yes. So I'm glad. I'm glad that I'm glad for the conflict that we have in here, and I think because our space is brave, we get more conflict resolution than
Yeah,
most people
facts.
do. Right? The more spaces do. Right? You're not better than me. I'm not better than you. This is what I believe. This is what you believe. We can and should talk about it.
Yeah, facts. And I think you said I didn't mean for this to happen, but I think you did. I think you manifested. You said, I want to create a space for the misfits. I've heard you say that a bunch.
Yeah.
So anyone who's feeling like they don't fit in, anyone who's feeling like disenfranchised, a lot of the time those are like...
You think it's because of those unsaid conversations? Not because of orientations, but because of unsaid conversations?
Yeah, and
Fair.
I think in
That's fair.
a lot of contexts, when you do choose to be a black sheep, not that it's always a choice, but most of the time it is.
Yeah. To labels oneself. Oh
yeah.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Then
It
I'm
may be
like-
thrust upon you, but yes.
I'm like, those are the people that I get along with. I think those are the people
most of
that
the
are
time.
leaders.
They're
a
the
lot
most
of the time.
understanding people I've run into like my entire life.
Yeah.
You know, sit and talk about anything, and I can know that like what I'm saying is like I'm like this ain't landing at all, but they're still listening versus being like I don't really ain't gonna get up and it's a whole argument or fight. Fair. Yeah. All right, I like it. So I don't have a real conclusion. I feel like it's an ongoing conversation that we're going to continue to have. But if you're looking for a space full of people who are living in brave community, then you should join us right here at Getting It Daily. You can find us at www.gettingitdaily.com, or you can reach out to myself or Coach Dev, and we will be happy to get you into or plugged into our community as well. Yeah. Again, this is all about you guys. We do, even these Coaches Corners, they're content, but really we're sharing our thought processes and what happens in here because I think our community needs one another. We just had Connie leave.
Yeah.
Just had Connie leave.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss Connie.
Miss you, Connie, already.
Way more than I thought I was going to miss Connie. Like I knew I was going to miss her, but I didn't know I was going to miss her.
Yeah.
Right? And I was like we were talking and she just hugged me like 2 or 3 times. And I was like,
yeah, she gave me like
really,
2 hugs on the way
really
out.
like you. Yeah, like I really like you, right? And she sees me, and it just feels dope to know that somebody so amazing sees you as amazing too. Feels really good. So Connie, I think we'll close with that. We love you. We will miss you. Hopefully, this is not our last time seeing you. But this community is all about all of you.
Absolutely.
Yes. So thank you so much for joining us, and until next time, peace.
Peace.